Thank you very much for joining us. This is the Marketing Optimist Marketing Sandwich course. We've ramped up a load. We were at one point doing one of these a month, every last Friday every month, but since the event, we've ramped them up. So we've got another three to go after this that I've got booked in right up until the 1st of May. So I am looking for extra people to kind of come on and share their insights on marketing and business in general. So that's good. So today we've got on Chris Allen, who is from Black Solicitors. I've known Chris for a long time, it would seem. I think we first met at an event that something to do with Tom Reardon, I believe.
Yeah.
It was like a meal, wasn't it? And we ended up sitting next to each other and having a good chin wag. And then
Indeed.
I persuaded you to come and do a better culture over in Bradford.
You did. Blimey, yeah.
That was a long time ago.
That was a long time ago, yeah. Enjoyed it though.
Good. So yeah, I've known Chris for a long while, and I thought he'd be a great guest to have on. He's probably, a lot of people, as I put in my LinkedIn post this morning, a lot of people think I'm really, really Yorkshire, but they've not met Chris yet. Chris is as Yorkshire as they come, which I love. So I'm basically going to hand over to Chris. Chris, if you can tell us a little bit about yourself and about Blacks, and then we can get going.
All right, hello everybody. Yeah, thanks very much. Well, thanks for having me on. I'm the managing partner of Black Solicitors. We're one of the many law firms in Leeds. We're probably medium sized. We have 180 staff. We've got 2 offices in Leeds City Centre, and the firm's been around for 31 years. So, so part of my role, obviously, is to manage the firm, but I've also got a great interest in marketing, etc. And so, I suppose social media was a gift from the gods to us. We really got our teeth into that a few years ago. About 10 years ago, actually. And of course, at the moment, we are, like every business, dealing with the challenge of the coronavirus and how that's affecting our business and how it's affecting clients. So that's where we are. So I'm happy to deal with any points, Richard, that you want to raise about that and how we've dealt with it, and also perhaps talk about what we're doing on a marketing and business development front, even during these dark days. Yeah,
well, that'll be really interesting because there's a lot of talk about people being quite a bit frightened of doing marketing and more important and more sales as well. So people are really kind of going, well, should I be marketing? Should I be pushing my products at this point? From a marketing point of view, obviously I'm going to say you should keep marketing, but I'd be interested to know from a distance's point of view what your thoughts are on that, Chris.
Okay, I think my point is this: we have put a lot of effort over we work in a saturated market. We're lucky to work in Leeds. It's a great city. It's absolutely full of lawyers, and therefore it is that I suppose always drives me on, that we can't rest on our laurels. Yes, it's lovely to win awards. It's lovely to say people say nice things about the new office, etc. But you can't rest on your laurels. And so we've been pushing hard on many fronts, all sorts of different marketing, be it advertising at the airport, be it new videos up there, be it signs outside Leeds Grammar School, be it social media. We've been doing a lot of things over the last 10 years, and that has borne some fruit. And I wouldn't like to think where we'd be if we hadn't done any of that. I'm sure some of it hasn't always been perfect, hasn't worked perfectly, but enough of it has, to the extent that we've created a brand that a lot of people, not everybody of course, but a lot of people can recognise in a market that is saturated with lawyers and good lawyers at that. I'd love to tell you that Leeds is full of rubbish lawyers and we're brilliant, but actually it's full of very good lawyers. So you can't, there is that sort of point of you've got to somehow stand apart. And we've been working hard on that. And so really when the virus issue arose, of course, and we'll come on to furloughing, I'm sure, in a moment or two, there is, of course, a knee-jerk reaction if you're trying to cut overheads, that you think to yourself, well, if I'm going to furlough X number of support staff and X number of young solicitors, surely the marketing manager and the business development manager could easily fall under that bracket, and we'll say goodbye to them for a month, 2 months, 3 months, as it now pans out. But actually, in the back of my mind, there was probably your words, the words of every marketeer I've ever met, the words of every management book I've ever read, every leadership book I've ever read that says, when the chips are down and the dark days are upon you, that is the time to start telling people about what you do.
Yeah.
And hence the fact that, a bit like you really, Richard, what we've done is we've actually upped the amount of output we've been putting, particularly videos on social media. And by that, I mean Twitter, Instagram, LinkedIn, etc. And at the same time, you might say, well, you know, if the marketing manager is in charge of that, what is your business development manager doing? And the answer is our business development manager is ringing our clients and speaking to our clients.
Yeah.
Yeah, of course, we can't all meet up for lovely lunches and coffees and, you know, the things that you would normally think of doing, you know, organising events, etc. But communication is key, isn't it? So, so we're doing a lot of that. So that's how we are approaching it. Now, listen, it's the, 21st of April. We're 3 weeks into the first lot of furloughing for our staff, you know, from the 1st of April, and it is still early days. So, am I pleased that we've, am I pleased that we've adopted that stance? Yes, I think I am. Do I think that we're getting our message out? And, you know, one of those underlying messages, to be honest with you, Richard, is that we're open for business, isn't it?
Yeah.
It isn't that we've hunkered down and we've fallen to pieces.
Yeah.
It is the message that we're absolutely here. In fact, I mean, if I'm being brutally honest with everybody, I feel I've been busier the last 3 weeks than I've been in the previous 3 months. So, you know, but if you furlough a large number of, a number of staff, then you are going to be busier, and quite frankly, you should be busier. So yes, that's where we are on the marketing and the business development.
I mean, we've found the same, so that we've had obviously clients who've got things planned in and big plans have suddenly had to turn everything on its head. So they've gone from doing live events, for example. We've got a couple of clients, in fact, and me included. We were doing, as you know, you've been on our social media masterclass before. We were doing our social media masterclass as a live event in an office in a boardroom. I had to flip it, and so tomorrow it's actually online. I'm still running it, but it's virtual. So you have to change. We've had to change everything, and for a lot of our clients, we've had to literally change things overnight. We've had some of our smaller clients who are takeaways or whatever. They've had to literally rip up everything and start again. It's been a real change, but luckily most of them have looked at us and looked at the situation like you and sort of said, well, we need to keep marketing. We might need to cut back because they've not necessarily got the deepest pockets and they can't predict the future, but they've not stopped. They've pulled it back a little bit. So it's good to know that you guys have done the same. So how did you cope with the sudden change? So presumably you had long-term plans, but what did you cope with there?
Yeah, and I mean it's amazing what's happened in a month, isn't it? Really, I mean, if you cast your mind back, the job retention scheme was announced by the government 1 month and 1 day ago, on the 20th of March. I would say that the first inkling that we'd got that something like that was coming was probably only about 24 hours before that. Prior to that, a lot of the advice we were giving to employers and individuals was all about paying people SSP when they're sorry, that's my iPad telling me my battery's running low. When it gets really low, I'll sprint across the room and get the
no worries.
You know, that we were talking at that stage about SSP. We were talking about what happens if people can't come to work. And then it all changed. And then, of course, what also happened was the move home, the migration to working from home. We were on with that. I suppose as a business, like many businesses, we've become increasingly flexible over the years. And so that was I suppose, an IT project, really, wasn't it? Getting everybody laptoped up and home with their iPads, the laptops, the phones, etc. And that went pretty smoothly. So, you know, I can't complain about that. We're lucky to have quite a large IT department, and that went through. The whole question of furloughing staff and how to deal with that imminent reduction in turnover, because I think most businesses would have expected there to be a reduction in turnover if most of your customers are now at home and aren't in the city centres and aren't working in what how many people perceive working. That did indeed, Richard, take me a few days to get my head round, actually. And I think the starting point was to look at the possibility of keeping everybody working and simply invite lots of people to take pay cuts. And ultimately where we ended up with our thinking was a process of furloughing a proportion of the staff and also discussing pay cuts for a period of time.
Okay. And how did the staff take to all that rapid change?
Very, very well, actually. And there was a lot of conversations, a lot of speaking to people. I'd done a couple of mass meetings with the staff in the offices before the migration home. And once I had, and my colleagues and I, not just me, but we'd come up with a financial plan. And the financial plan is all about getting through to the 31st of March 2021. It's not about getting to the end of August 2020. Once we'd come up with that plan, then it's all about communication, isn't it? It's all about talking to people. And I'll be honest, I started with the equity partners and I told them what I would expect them to take in terms of a hit. And I then moved on to the salaried partners, and then we then moved on to the teams, and we talked to the associates, and we ultimately talked to everybody. And the feedback was, I think I can say 99.5% was positive and supportive. And, you know, and again, it is amazing what has happened in the last month, isn't it? But you cast your mind back to when I was having those conversations, which was approximately the 26th of March. And of course, you know, we didn't know then what we know now 3 weeks on. In fact, what has happened has panned out to be what we feared, isn't it, really?
Yeah.
You know, with the deaths, God, you know, the number of people, the challenges to the NHS, the challenges with ICU units, ventilators, scrubs, etc. They are all the concerns that we all had. So, to be honest, the answer was everybody was very supportive. I think we've been very transparent. I mean, I'm coming on here and telling you, aren't I? So, yes. You know, and that is the way it is. This is all about, this is a financial plan to keep as long as we possibly can, as many people in a job as long as we can, because they're people. Yeah,
it's important. And we've obviously, we're nowhere near on the scale of Blacks, but we've done the same. So I've communicated kind of from day one. In fact, we actually went remote the week before it officially went. You've got to kind of all go remote, because it suits us. I mean, just how we are. We're kind of laptops and phones, and when we're done. But we've continued to communicate. We are, I guess, over marketing. If anything, you'll have seen we've ramped up our marketing, our own business marketing for Marketing Optimist massively, because we want to ensure that we're kept front of face, that people don't think they've gone. And so we're doing different things like the webinars. Yeah.
And let's not forget, Richard. You know, as you know, if whilst I appreciate the furlough scheme effectively was backdated to the 1st of March, for a lot of people it really started on or about the 1st of April. Yeah. You know, I think a lot of people had paid people in March as we had, and then it sort of kicked in April. So here we are at the end of the first 3 weeks. That scheme's been extended to the end of June. There's going to be another 3 lots of those 21 days yet. Yeah. So, you know, the game has just begun. Yeah. You know, I mean, you know, I hope everybody business-wise gets through this thing. But I suppose realistically, as you said, there will be some casualties from this in terms of businesses. And you're absolutely right. Everybody wants to come out of it and hit the floor running. Whether there will be a return to normality, a quick return to normality, or a very slow return to normality. But yeah, so that's kind of where we are with it, how we've approached it. And I think these circumstances are so extreme, aren't they? In that, you know, this isn't because, you know, we're not in this position because we've made one bad business decision. No. We haven't, nobody has just overstretched. Nobody has declared huge dividends. Nobody's done something odd that then means that all their staff are taking a hiding. This is something that's happened totally beyond the control of all the employers in the country, quite frankly.
Yeah.
and still, everybody, is taking some pain or taking a hiding, if you want to use that for.
And I think it's from speaking to our clients and business people. I know it's kind of doubly galling because after all the issues we had of the financial crash and the austerity and everything, pretty much everyone I've spoken to has said we were on for a bumper year this year. We were on for the best year ever, and then suddenly it's just being whipped from underneath everybody.
Well, you would never have thought this 6 months ago, would you? But we haven't even mentioned the Brexit word in this webinar, have we? And you're absolutely right. I mean, getting over the recession and the austerity years, the next thing really was the uncertainty created by Brexit, which lingered right up to the general election, didn't it? And I think everybody then took a breather at Christmas. And I have to say that you're absolutely right. The work coming through the door from the 1st to 2nd of January has been impressive. And encouraging, and absolutely right. I think a lot of people I've spoken to, quite a lot of people have a year end at the end of March, financial year end as we do, and a lot of people have said to me, we had our best month, we had our best 3 months ever, and it's galling. So, but take heart from that, I'd say, and because that proves to a lot of people that if we can get the business world back to some normality, there are lots of people out there with a business model that does work. The way in which they go about business, the way they market their business, the things they do. So, and I appreciate that this challenging period we're in now is going to make everybody think about how they do things. I'm sure home working will be, massively on the increase post this. But if you look back and you say, well, look, at least we had a business model. I can say to you, can't I? We have got a business model at Black Solicitors that has made profit for 31 years on the trot. So we're not terrible at this job. No. But, my concerns aren't about will my staff do the work. My concerns is, are there enough clients doing commercial activity to generate work for my staff to do? And I think a lot of people will be like that, actually. I think, of course, there'll be the odd person, won't there, who's swinging their lead a bit, or isn't buying into things, but I bet that is a tiny percentage of the workforce of West Yorkshire. And I think the vast majority of people are on board with things, working hard. But it's all about that. What was the challenge of Brexit? The challenge of Brexit was people slowing down and just not doing things for a bit, because we'll just see what happens with Brexit. We'll just see what happens with the election. And now, I suppose, again, we've got a more concentrated version of that, where people say, I just won't do anything because because I'm at home and struggling to get going, and secondly, I'm worried. And the biggest worry probably will be tying in with, once we get through the next couple of months, the next big worry for people, Richard, will be, do I still have a job? Do I have a job in the new world? Yeah.
I mean, me being ever the optimist, my thought is that there's going to be a massive pent-up demand. I mean, especially we've got clients who are in interiors, and I'm sure, like you, I've been sat in my house looking around and going, "Oh, that carpet's a bit shabby." I need to decorate.
I would never say that, Richard.
I need to decorate whatever, or I need a new settee or whatever. So there's going to be a pent up demand. There's going to be people needing things. It's just we've just got to get through this period. I think that's going to be the tricky thing. And that, for me, is why people need to keep marketing through this period, so that people go, all right, I can't do it now for whatever reason, but I'm going to remember what I need to do.
Well, people are going to remember a lot of things, aren't they? The other challenge at the moment is, we all know that phrase, don't we, that cash is king. People are hanging on to cash, and therefore people are not paying creditors. And that in itself will create difficulties for businesses, every business. Cash is king. And so people will remember how they're treated. You will remember who pays your invoices and who does not. I will remember who pays. People will remember if I paid them. So there's a bit of that going on at the moment. So I love your enthusiasm, your optimism for a surge. Believe me, I hope there's a surge. But there also needs to be a surge in people moving cash, paying their bills and getting money back in the system and circulating.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because as ever, it is the small businesses who suffer when larger businesses start holding back on the payments.
Okay. So, obviously you guys are all working out of the office now. I saw something this morning, which is I showed Sophie on our call this morning, which is it's a little website, and I'll share it with you afterwards. It's a little website where you can turn on different noises in the office. So you can't be at the office, but it turns on like the water cooler and the photocopy and creaky doors and people typing and background noise. So I'm just wondering. So obviously, I've visited your office and they're gorgeous. I mean, it's a really nice design. You've done a gorgeous job in there.
Thank you.
What are you guys missing from the office? What are the team telling you what they're missing from what are you personally missing from the office?
Okay. Of course, the political answer here is I'm missing all my colleagues, and I'm missing. Well, let's be brutally honest. I'm missing the coffee machine. I'm missing the tuck shop, and because we have both of those beauties. Yeah, of course, we're all missing. I think we're all missing a bit of that social interaction with people, social media and Zoom, etc. Of course, Zoom has taken off massively. Had an equity partners meeting yesterday, 10 of us on that call for 2 hours. I think the challenge there is just managing those sorts of meetings and working out. We're sort of saying that the benefit is that people, particularly if you're going through a list of people one by one, then people think carefully what they're going to say because they know they've got a limited amount of time to say it.
Yeah.
So that's superb in many regards.
Yeah.
The challenge is, of course, you lose some of that spontaneity where people say, oh, but what about this? And, oh, what about that? And so of course, I am missing people. I like walking in that office and I like walking around through the meeting rooms in the morning. I like saying hello to as many people as I can. And I love getting to that coffee machine and wandering down the other end of the office. So, yeah, I'm missing that. And one of my fears, however we all come out of this, I'm sure there will be more home working. There will be more hot desking. There will be just more of that. But my only fear about all of that, I think that's all good. And it's all about the right, if you've recruited the right people who pull the weight, they'll do the work, won't they? But there is still a little bit of me that loves the collegiate feel of seeing people in the office. And, the reason we moved to City Point and moved to Open Plan was so that I could get up from my desk and walk 6 feet and speak to Dave Patterson about a corporate transaction. Yeah. Walk walk another 5 feet and chat to Paul Kelly about an employment law matter.
Yeah.
So but I think that's what we're in contact. Ironically, I'm in contact with a lot of the staff. A lot of the time, every Tuesday, we normally have a meeting in the office called Tuesday Club, which is with all the young solicitors, trainees, apprentices, work experience students if they're in, and we have half an hour every Tuesday afternoon, and we're doing the same today on Zoom. Yeah, and they probably thought they'd escape me if they went home, but they haven't.
No, I know what you mean. We're having a morning every morning. We have a kind of 9 o'clock meeting where I guess it started quite procedurally when we first kicked it off. It's kind of what you're doing, what you're working on, but now it's kind of got to a bit more of a socially bit at the beginning. So how are you? What you're doing? How you're feeling? What have you seen on TV? So we're getting a bit more water coolery, I guess, in the morning meeting, and then we do a little bit of I'm trying to change it around now, so it's more of a what are the problems you've got? Is there any blockages? How can we release that rather than give me a list of everything you've got? And I guess that's just a mindset change. Yeah,
I think we're all the different departments at our office do a similar thing. Employment team in particular have I know because I'm always in on it, we have a daily meeting, but then there's been so much going on with employment law. Because whilst, for example, these furlough rules came out, 20th of March, there's been no less than 4 updates from the government already. Now, of course, you always have a little cold sweat as a lawyer when somebody says, oh, we've updated those regulations. Did you think, what the hell have I been saying to people for the last 2 weeks? So there haven't been any sort of heart-stopping moments yet, I'm pleased to say. But a lot of it is common sense. And absolutely. And that has worked. And I think you accept that these things develop and you accept that different people have different ways of dealing with all these challenges. I honest with you, I haven't put this shirt and tie on for you, Richard. Don't take that the wrong way. It works for me to get up in the morning and put shirt and tie on, and that's just I'm on duty. It works for me. I know some people will be chuckling or thinking, "What an idiot," But for me, that really works. Some of my other colleagues go for the stick of the dump look, where perhaps they've let it go a bit. Not my idea, but it's what works, isn't it?
I know what you mean. I do the same. I get up just at the same time as I normally would, have a shave and a shower, shirt on, and come down to work in the office. Say goodbye to the wife and the kids, because I think I like you. I like being in the office. I've adapted nicely to working remotely, but I do like being in the office because there is that thing where you can just look to the side or go to somebody's desk and have a chat where you can't virtually. It's really difficult. You can kind of go, well, let's have a virtual Zoom meeting, but you've kind of lost that spontaneity, that happenstance, that thing that just happens where you go, I've got a brilliant idea. Let's do X. It's really difficult to do it remotely, but not impossible.
No, and I suppose ultimately we'll probably look back, won't we, in 6 months' time, hopefully in a restaurant. And I mean, I'm losing weight because I'll never go out for lunch anymore. But I think we'll look back and say what this thing really did, and I'm looking purely as a business thing and not as a social side. It has massively accelerated things that were probably going to happen over the next few years anyway.
Yeah. No, absolutely.
Zoom. I'll be honest with you. I was not using Zoom until 4 weeks ago. I didn't even have a laptop. I used to bring my iPad home. I'd merrily tap out emails and bits and pieces, but I didn't really require a laptop now, of course. So it's great, isn't it? Microsoft Teams, Zoom, Microsoft Teams. These things are all developing. It's great. It's exciting. I mean, we will all look back on our careers, I suppose, and say, look, thankfully, we didn't live through I hope not a world war. But I would have said prior to all this kicking off, we have lived through the communication revolution.
Yeah.
If you think that when I started at Black's in 1994, I didn't have a computer. And now, the score, there's more technology in this than the moon or something. So, and now we're living through the greatest challenge, probably business challenge and personal challenge since the end of World War II.
Yeah, I mean, if you look back at if this had happened even 10 years ago, the world would have, I don't know how the world would have coped, because we had really chunky mobile phones that didn't do much more than text. Nobody had laptops. The internet at home didn't exist particularly, and if it did, it was really slow dial-up. We could never have had this kind of discussion.
20 years ago probably would have been the death knell of a lot of law firms in Leeds, certainly.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
we're relying on faxes and actually it's quite interesting because what was it, like 8 years ago when I bought my house, and I think I actually remember coming to you guys for some help.
God bless you.
I think at some point they had to fax over the kind of the house moving element of it, so it had to be kind of signed and faxed over, and it's just like, fax? Are you insane? So again, presumably in law, whether it's coming quite as quickly, because obviously I know in legal departments there's a lot of actual paperwork, so actual bits of paper. I mean, when I say paper, I mean bits of paper. So presumably that's now got to massively accelerate. You can't continue that way.
Oh yeah, I mean, if you look at us moving into City Point, 3 years ago now since we moved in, we made the decision at the time not to go paperless, whether rightly or wrongly, with a real focus on paper light. We have certain departments, litigation, family law, etc. There's still a lot of paper involved. If we were moving today, would we do the same? I suspect we'd be pushing that paperless aspect a bit more, you know. And the whole two screens thing, the way we're talking now, the screen is set up there, so it's all changing. You've got to keep moving with it the best you can. Sometimes you think you're ahead of the game, sometimes you think you're a bit behind the curve, but you've got to keep trying. I think that's the thing, is to try and keep an open mind. And I've always said the day I stop thinking of new ideas for the firm will be the day I stop being the managing partner. So which is probably right, though, isn't it, Richard?
Once you run out of steam,
I'm sure there will come that day.
Yeah, absolutely.
But anyway, for now we're all right, I think.
Okay. Well, does anyone have any? I know we've had Leslie's joined us a little bit late in the call, but hi, Leslie. I don't know if you can hear us all. Okay.
Hi, Leslie.
So, Leslie or Sophie, do you have any questions for Chris?
Personally, sorry, I was going to see if Leslie chimed in on that.
That's all right.
Personally, for me, I found it was just interesting listening to, like, obviously people that are having to actually deal with the legal side and, like, keeping the businesses up and running, like, other than employees' perspective. It was just interesting just to hear you guys, like, chat about the things that you've had to change and overcome, and things that you've picked up and maybe you have had to, like, slack on a little bit to just keep things moving. It's just generally interesting to listen to you talk about it.
Yeah, thanks. I mean, the biggest challenge is cash. You know, it is to run the business. We as a business, for example, are used to generating £1 million of income every month. The biggest thing that goes out of our bank every month is about £550,000 worth of wages. And then you've got the costs of the premises and the paper, the electricity, blah, 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 blah. But that thing all tootles on nicely as long as you're billing approximately £1 million a month. One month you might do 900,000, the next month you might do 1.2 million. Ultimately, overall, it's fine and the money keeps moving. But the money, the day that turnover drops to £400,000, £500,000 a month, that's the crunch, and that's the killer on the cash flow. And that's what every business, I'm sure, is focusing on at the moment, is how do we cope? And that's why the government have rolled out the business interruption loans, which the banks are making available now. And obviously the furlough mechanism is all about taking the sting out of the cost of having staff, you know. So if you can furlough 10 members of staff who are on £20,000 each a year, then you're taking those people off your wage bill in their entirety for the period of that furlough leave. It's a huge amount.
Yeah.
And it all adds up. And it's all about, it isn't about, hey, let's maintain our profit levels. It genuinely is, let's ensure we can stay in business. We can come back. Everybody can come back from anything as long as we all stay in business. And that is, I'm sure, what is dominating the thoughts of every business owner. I don't think there are many people out there saying, "Ooh, if I can just furlough a few staff, I can keep my profits at 2 million." You know, I think it's. I think we're way past that.
Yeah, that's short-term thinking. I think it was interesting when you said earlier that you're not planning for the next 6 months. You're planning into kind of well into next year.
Oh no, absolutely. And I'd say to anybody, if you're not very good at cash flow projecting, find somebody quickly who is, and invest a little bit of time and money in getting somebody to do your cash flow projections. You might be surprised to discover that a drop in business in June, July, August actually isn't horrific for your cash in those months. But December, January, February are going to be shockers.
Yeah.
And the question then is, okay, if I can borrow from the bank, if I need to borrow from a bank to help support the business through that period, do I draw that money down now, or do I draw that money down a bit nearer that dip? Yeah. And again, if you're, let's be honest, the revenue is saying you can defer certain tax bills. The VAT are saying you can defer. Defer is fine in the short term, but you've still got to pay it one day.
Yeah.
So you might as well work out your cash flow projection now and say, well, if I don't pay the VAT bill on the 10th of May and I can pay that in January 2021, can I just have a little look now at how I'm going to look?
Have I got it in January 21? Yes.
At the end of January 2021, I might be thinking, crikey, I thought summer was bad.
Yeah.
Check this out.
Yeah.
So cash is king. I mean, we've said it for years. I used to hear that phrase, turnover's vanity, profit's reality. Cash is king, and say, yeah, I get that. Yeah. The truth is, it's all about cash.
Yeah, cool. So, Leslie, do you have any questions for myself or Chris? Hello? I'm going to take that as a no, Leslie.
Leslie's either whispering a question or doesn't have one. But thank you for listening anyway, Leslie.
No worries. All right. Well, thank you very much. I think we'll call it an end there. So thanks again, Chris, for sparing the time. I'm sure you're really busy. So I really appreciate it. We've got some more webinars coming up. They can all book them via our website, themarketingoptimist.co.uk. And actually, we've just submitted all of them to the Leeds Digital Festival. So you're effectively taking part in that, Chris, as well.
Yeah, good. Well, let me just say, if anybody has any questions they want to ask me, you can get all my details off lawblacks.com website. My mobile number's on there and everything. There's lots of useful blogs and articles on the website as well for anybody. But anybody, honestly, Richard, can ring me anyway. You know, if anybody contacted you, said, you have Chris's number, you know, they can do. And I'm always happy to talk about legal. I'm always happy to talk about business and looking ahead and how we can all work. One of the great benefits of working where we work is that we've got a huge populace in a large area with no huge areas of sea or lakes to stop us working. We all benefit if West Yorkshire stays strong.
Yeah.
And I hope everybody out there, I wish you success and above all, good health.
Thank you. I'll include a link to Law Blacks in the video and on the blogs and everything as well. So you can always find Blacks that say I guess this is an endorsement. I've personally used Blacks before and they're really good.
You're smoothie.
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you very much, everybody, and have a safe day. And I'll see you all soon. Thanks a lot.
Thanks. Bye.
Bye. Bye.